relationships as I get ready for my day. Welcome in. We're going to talk about authentic relationships versus unhealthy and codependent relationships. So I'm going to get some music going, get the vibe right, and then we're going to chit chat. Chit chat about what is unhealthy relationship and how to pick the right relationship for yourself. So I'm excited. I'm excited to chit chat with you and get going with my skincare and my makeup. I have a long day ahead of me, lots of things to do. Lots of things to do, places to be. So let's get into it. Healthy relationships are based on attraction or understanding with common interests. You think about things a certain way, you relate in a certain way, you're attracted to their thoughts and their behavior and their ideas and who they are, right? Versus in an unhealthy relationship, there's an addict or someone emotionally unavailable trying to someone who's emotionally trying to really escape the authenticity of the relationship and like really having to do the work of getting to know the other person. So an emotionally unavailable person really is just like stingy. They're stingy with their love, with their attention, with their energy, with what they want to do. So that's one of the bigger things with inauthentic relationships, that one of the partners is unavailable and the unavailability shows up because they're not giving you their energy, and that makes anxious people who have anxious attachment or who grew up in household where they had to work so hard to earn love and trust. Such people will chase the emotionally unavailable person. So that's the simplest definition of emotionally unavailable. Someone who is not able to share or give you their energy, their love all the time, like consistently. That's the biggest thing with healthy relationship. There has to be consistency and not just off and on when I'm not, pulled towards other things. I'll give my partner a little bit of breadcrumb. So when there's breadcrumbing and there's no consistency, that makes a relationship unhealthy, right? But a healthy relationship is based on mutual respect and give and take of energy, sharing time together, doing things together, right? That's one of the bigger, like a sign of a healthy relationship, that people are in it. Hi, Just Izzy. Thanks for saying hello. What are you up to? I'm just going to be teaching a class later on healthy versus unhealthy relationships, so I'm kind of like getting ready and reviewing my notes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You're so pretty. Well, thank you. So, in a healthy relationship, you're with somebody, whether it's friendship or a romantic relationship, people are together because they appreciate, or you're subbing in a class, because they appreciate the other person's personality, their thoughts, how they live, who they are. Versus in a relationships that unhealthy, you're always fighting to get their love, attention, understand me, be there for me. There's a lot of like pulling, pushing. And usually what happens is the other partner is distracted in their own world. They could have addictions or be working a lot right? But when you heal, you realize I'm not gonna, or you're subscribing. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that as well. And if you were subbing in a class, teachers are so awesome. In a healthy relationship, you take your time and then you see, like, is the other person giving me as much as I'm giving them? Is the energetic exchange equal or almost equal. In certain things you may be doing a lot and they may not be, and maybe they're fulfilling other needs. So when relationship is so fast, like too fast, usually it's just pure hormones or like trauma that's bringing people together, and not things that are good for them, not things like mutual love, respect, understanding, because to like really get to know somebody and understand them, it takes time. How are you going to fall in love with, who are you falling in love with if you're falling in love with someone like at first sight? That's love at first sight is mostly infatuation, right? So ask me any questions that you might have on love relationships, because I'm going to be teaching this today. I'm just reviewing my notes with you guys. Yeah, so take your time getting to know the person and make sure they're emotionally available, that they give you what you are giving them, right? And then another sign of a healthy relationship is that both people have their own life, hobbies, interests, jobs, goals, and then they have mutual hobbies, interests, jobs, you know? So you've got, what if they like two people at a time? So it's not romantically, you mean they're attracted to two people at the same time? Monogamy is a value in relationships. So if the person is somebody who can give so much of them to two people, then they can probably have two healthy relationships. But I highly doubt that, because when you are in romantic relationships, when you are with someone, you're like a puzzle that comes together to make a whole. So if you are one person, you're trying to fit in with this one and you're trying to get your needs met. So what's happening is that you're not getting your needs met with one person. That's why you're needing like two people. And that happens a lot. But remember, two halves are not going to give you that full satisfaction. A healthy, wholesome, full relationship where two people are just jived usually does not leave room for a third. Usually there's something missing. And I'm not judging either or. I mean, I have clients who are in healthy, non monogamous relationships. What if you really like them, but they want you to change yourself? So they're not accepting you for who you are. They may be attracted to, hello, Sarah. They may be attracted to you for, what you bring to the table or for who you are, but they want you to change. That means they're not accepting of who you are today. So that's like not a, that's really not a relationship, because they're in relationship with somebody that they don't accept. How is that going to be okay? And if it is, they're compromising, and the compromise in relationships on like big things only lasts for so long. So if they're compromising and waiting for you to change, and it's really hard to change yourself or anybody unless you really really want to change, so it's gonna be not a very long relationship, right? If they're trying to tell you that I don't accept you for who you are, you've got to change these things, and then I will be, yours or faithful to you or whatever they're saying. So take your time to get to know the other person and make sure that you are emotionally available and then they are emotionally available. Non-monogamy these days has become a big culture because people are not able to get their needs met from one person, so they have to go, to get their. Back in the day, people just used to compromise and shut up and be like, okay, well, I accept that this is not a perfect relationship, it's not going to meet all my needs. But if your foundational basic needs that are important to you are not being fulfilled in that relationship, then you really have to reevaluate if it's even worth it. You've got to have some big needs met in a relationship for a relationship to last. Otherwise, people will constantly be looking for And it's a big waste of time to try to be with someone who wants you to change, because they're not going to be happy with who you are. So that's like my 2 cents on that. So another thing, Sarah, I was just telling everyone that I'm teaching a class on relationships today, and I'm reviewing my notes and kind of get my thinking, going in that subject again. So in another hallmark sign that I see in healthy relationships is that they're emotionally intimate. They're like really open, like they're open with each other, and you can tell if someone's open to you in a relationship, or if they're closed off. You know, that's a big sign. Emotional away. A woman especially will. I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, just Izzy, but when people are really in it, they're open to you emotionally, and you can tell because they will be their true self. They'll be comfortable. There's not going to be hesitation. There's not going to be like lack of eye contact, or and there's no need. If the relationship is healthy and it fits, then they're going to try to grow it and get the needs met with that person, right? That's why communication is so important, because if you're trying to be in a relationship and like save it, then you have to communicate your needs to them. And that's one of the biggest things that I notice gets missed in relationships, that people really don't take their time to understand their needs, values, wants, desires, and they just show up in the relationship based on infatuation, or based on physical attraction, or based on desperation. Oh, no one's gonna accept me, so I'm just gonna, you know, um, just show up and see how it goes. A lot of people don't have the bandwidth to do the work in relationships, and don't value doing the work in relationships, mainly because they think, oh, there's no monetary compensation, right? A job, you work hard because you have a goal of making this money and keeping it, keeping a paycheck going. But in relationships, the payoff is other person's happiness. That's why people who are self-centered, they don't want to do the work in relationships, because they don't think the work that it requires to change yourself is worth other person's happiness, right? Then another thing in relationships is that in a healthy relationship, you maintain your own identity, and it's not all about the other person, you know? So if you're in a healthy relationship, your mind is not going to be constantly worried and obsessed. That obsessiveness in relationships, or thinking about the other person, comes because you're so worried that maybe you'll get betrayed, or your inner child is scared that maybe you'll get betrayed, abandoned, disrespected, maybe they'll cheat on you, whatever, right? So if you're worried in the relationship, and you're not able to maintain your own life, your hobbies, your work, the focus should always be you. Even if you're in a relationship, do not give yourself up to maintain a marriage. A lot of women will give themselves up completely just so they can maintain a marriage. Women will sabotage. I've seen so many women sabotage their life, their career, put themselves on hold so they can be there for the man and the marriage, and that's great. But the reciprocation, if it's not there, it's not coming. If the guy is not putting in as much as you're putting in, he's gonna put in less and less and less as time goes on, right? So in a healthy relationship, two people come together with their hopes and dreams and values, and their availability. Not that, oh yeah, let's go on a date today and then I'm gonna reject you next week and breadcrumb you the week after. I may insult you, after that, or I may not and give you the same energy back. The inconsistency is is the biggest sign of an unhealthy relationship. You're so welcome, just easy. Um, and then in an unhealthy relationship, the patterns of enmeshment are so rampant because people just want to know where you are. What are you doing? Because they're so worried, they're so scared that you're gonna cheat or something's gonna happen. That's why they go through the phones. They will like look through your stuff, and all of that happens. The enmeshment, the that they don't leave the other person alone, and because they're not trusting, and they're not trusting because the other person may have given them, or their past has given them ideas that, oh, people are not trustworthy, or men are not trustworthy, or whatever your wound is. So coming together as two independent individuals, maintaining your identity, and then enjoying yourself with each other and making a life together, that's a healthy relationship, right? A lot of women will say, "Oh, I'm going to make myself indispensable to this person. I will raise his kids. I will cook, I will clean, I will give him everything. I will make money." They do so much, too much, that they don't even leave room for the guy to do anything. And that's really hurtful to the relationship because if the guy's not putting in or investing, so that's another thing. Investment energetically has to be there from both people, mentally, emotionally, physically, right? Physical needs are one of the main reasons, is one of the reasons people, cheat or end relationships, or because their needs are not being met. I mean, I'm not saying that, and if you're with someone who's not emotionally available to you, then it's time to reevaluate and see, like, what is it in me that I'm accepting people who just want to use me, or just want to only be there for me when I can do something for them, when I can take care of them, when I can provide emotional support, mental support, physical, right? So if your relationship is based on your doing and not being, that's how you know you're not in a healthy relationship, right? All right, so let's see. If there's any questions on relationships, please feel free to pop them in, right? In a healthy relationship, two people come together to make a whole, and then they go do their own thing, but the bond remains and no one is worried about that bond. If you're obsessively worrying about the relationship, the, your parts may be trying to tell you that this is not healthy or this is not safe. Safety is a big thing. Healthy relationships will help you feel safe. In an authentic relationship, you will stay confident in who you are and what you're about. You're not going to be thinking, oh, maybe I should change myself. Maybe I should lose weight. Maybe I should do this and that to win him over, to please him. So if you are, obsessed about, I tend to lose my sense of self in relationships. Yeah, when the relationship demands you to give yourself up in service of the man and the relationship, but the other person is not doing the same, that's when you're like, oh, I need to be enmeshed with them so they don't leave me. That insecurity is will eat you alive. When there's insecurity and fear in relationships, my clients, they're not able to, and I was like this too, right? They're not able to focus on their life, their health, and the insecurity, feeling unsafe in relationships, leads to inflammation, autoimmune disease, that feeling of unsafety. Because when you feel unsafe in a work environment, when you feel safe in a relationship, you will always attract people. When you feel unsafe in a relationship, or when you feel, you know, enmeshed in a relationship, or obsessed, or you give yourself up, that's unhealthy. And that will slowly deteriorate your health and your well being because you're carrying the burden of unsafety all the time. And many times people don't even tell them, talk to themselves and say, hey, I feel really insecure, unsafe in this relationship. Why is that? They don't bring that out to themselves or other people. Also, when there's jealousy, when there's possessiveness, there's control. So when there's undue control or there's too much criticism, a lot of people will criticize you or put you down in order to maintain control in the relationship. So if someone's hyper focused on fixing you, changing you on your negative, on the negative, on what you're not doing right, that means they're not happy with you. There's something that, you know, why are they picking you apart? So that's not a healthy relationship. And then you need to have a conversation with the person and understand, like, am I just a placeholder? Do you not love me? Do you not want this relationship? Why are you picking me apart? I thought you loved me for who I am. So if a relationship expects you, demands you to change and make, a few changes is good and everything, but does not constantly criticizes you, picks you apart, invalidates you, does not meet your needs, and you're still sitting there, ask yourself why. Why am I sitting in a relationship that does not meet my needs, does not prop me up, does not put in as much effort as I put in? It's because you're being used and you just want a relationship, or you love this person too much, right? That's And then in such relationships, women get addicted to chasing the man, chasing the drama, chasing love. And meanwhile, they're just investing all of their time, energy, love. They've given themselves up, they've abandoned themselves, but they're like chasing the guy in order to get him to see your worth. And that's because you don't see your own worth and get up and go. You don't see your own worth and only reciprocate as much as the other person is reciprocating. Women stay in abusive relationships because they don't think that they are worthy. They think that no one's gonna love me, or where am I? And a lot of times, because of our past trauma, we're only attracted to people who will treat us poorly, just like how we were invalidated in our childhood, how we were hurt and belittled or not respected in childhood. People expect that similar person to change now, just because you're grown, but you picked a person who's still invalidating you, just like your parents did in the past. So if you start to notice how much love, happiness, peace I get in this relationship, right? You've got to like put the mirror on the relationship, not just yourself, because you are who you are and they are who they are. But if it works, it works. Don't force it. That's one thing I tell my clients. You are who you are, and there's many people who will fit well with you based on who you are. For It's better to put your energy into finding the right people, the right tribe, the right friends, people who uplift you and hold you close to them and you feel safe, rather than spending decades in relationships trying to win them over and prove to them that you are worthy. Prove to them that, oh, I could do more stuff for you. I could, I could do this for you. Maybe then you'll love me, right? So that's one of the pitfalls that people fall into. They're like, oh, I already invested 1 year, I already invested 5 years. Oh, now I'm already, if you're in a bad relationship, you're gonna lose health, wealth, right? You're gonna lose yourself and not realize that you're slowly deteriorating while you're invested in building the other person, right? And then when you start noticing that they don't put in the same energy, and you ask them, hey, put in the effort, put in the energy, I want to feel loved and cared for, and nothing changes, that's another sign you're in an unhealthy relationship where you're not valued. So rather than settling, put your energy into finding the right people, the right relationship, the right, because you can request and communicate to the other person, hey, you need to change this, I want that, but they're not able to give you, they're not able to meet your needs. And slowly you will get used to just the breadcrumbs, you will get used to the chaos and the drama, right? So if you don't, and then seeking approval becomes a habit. Like if you're with a partner who constantly invalidates you, says no, picks you apart, tells you to grow, tells you to improve yourself, and that's the belief you will start thinking about yourself. Those are the beliefs you will internalize and think that, oh, I must not be worthy, that's why my parents did not find me worthy, the world does not find me worthy, this partner now is using me and not, meeting my needs or cares about me, right? So that's a thinking that then becomes a pattern, and you start to believe that there's something wrong with you, versus all along the wrong thing is that you're picking and staying with people, with jobs, with partners, with friends, circles that invalidate you, that tell you you're not worthy, you're just here. And that's a really, that makes women invisible to themselves and other people. When you get invalidated for so long by your parents, then your partners, right? And you keep picking similar people because that's all you know, that's all you're attracted to, those people are not going to change. So you might have to go a different route, pick somebody maybe you're not as physically infatuated with, but they are there for you, they make you feel safe, they make you feel grounded, you know that if they leave, your world is not going to fall apart, right? If you lose yourself in a relationship and that person leaves, your world will fall apart. So choose people who help you stay grounded in your own identity, and then you stay, and respect, and mutual understanding, and mutual, that they're not like only focused on your negativity or negative traits, right? All right, let's see, ask me any questions that you might have. If you are obsessing about a partner, or they've become your primary focus and you've let go of yourself, that's how you know you're not in a safe, healthy relationship. What else? Let's talk about having to put a mask on to win over other people. So that's called conditioning. And our women's conditioning begins really early on, or I think everybody. We're conditioned to be a certain way about around certain people, and behavior is different. You can behave with etiquette depending on the people and the situation, and that's different. But changing completely who you are, and forgetting about your thoughts, your opinions, what matters to you, if you forget or you put it on a back burner, if you're putting your goals on a back burner, you're losing your sense of value and purpose and worth, and the only thing you have going on for you is keeping that relationship going. Because another hallmark sign of unhealthy relationship is that all your cylinders are burning at full speed, but all that energy is going only to maintaining the relationship. So losing focus on yourself, rushing relationships. So always look into, in a romantic relationship, the basis should be friendship. Do you get along? Do you have common interests? Do you have energetic exchange? Is there playfulness in the relationship? Is there prioritization? No, I don't care how busy someone is. The quality of relationship will deteriorate if they don't prioritize each other. No matter how much you love each other, you still have to communicate, and pour into the container of the relationship to maintain that, so that, you know, people who are separate, they come together in a relationship and they maintain that by pouring in equally. If you're the only one filling in and he's the only one taking, then there's a problem. Ask me any questions that you might have about healthy versus unhealthy relationships, or I'm teaching a class later on relationships, so I'm just reviewing my notes. Yeah, whenever there's jealousy, possessiveness, when there's control, invalidation, right? We see so many TikToks of people just putting each other down. That's not a relationship. You're training yourself to stay in a trauma bond if you keep persistently working on a relationship, but then the other person, maybe they put in a little bit of effort, but then they go away. Maybe they just breadcrumb, right? That's a hallmark sign. The unsafety, let's talk about the unsafety in relationships. You will feel unsafe in relationship and you will be obsessively worrying about it when you feel like you will be abandoned or rejected, or they will say you're not, they will not like it. So if you're so worried about them loving you and liking you that you lose focus of your own self, that's an unhealthy relationship. And the longer you stay in it, you're training your hormones and your body to weather that storm. And once you're out of that relationship and everything is calm, you're not gonna, people lose their mind because now they don't have the addiction to the stress of the relationship anymore. That's one of the reasons people don't leave high drama relationships, because that's the only way they know how to keep going. Because when you're in a high stress relationship or a high pressure environment, your body is pumping out juice. It's taxing your body, it's taxing your organs, the adrenaline, the norepinephrine, the cortisol, and then intermittently you get that love hormone. Maybe you get oxytocin with a little hug, maybe you get dopamine with a little feel good, right? So all that mixture, this roller coaster of like stress, 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 and then oh, he gave me a hug. Stress, 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 and oh, I got a text back. Stress, is he cheating? Is he gonna abandon me? Is there something going on? And then oh no, he said, he's where he said he was gonna be. So if you are finding yourself on that roller coaster, know that you can weather that storm, but your body is getting addicted and getting ready to stay in that storm, and it's really deteriorating your insides, right? Diseases, inflammation, just overall crumbling. And it comes, you don't see it when you're young. People think, oh, I can handle it, I can handle, yeah, you can handle anything before say 40, 45, 50. Wait till you get older and the body doesn't have those reserves, and your spirit is exhausted, and you're just burnt out on bad relationships, bad people, on if you're when you're burnt out on stress is when diseases come, right? So why not take your time and slowly build relationships where you have friendship, mutual respect, understanding. It's there, it is out there, but it takes time. It takes time to find the right fit. And that's why you need to have yourself as your best friend, your best confidant. Like, a person can come and go. A person, because human beings are not, I mean, they're just animals. Human beings, in my practice of so many decades, you know, evolved human beings still will make mistakes, but human beings essentially are animals. And you have to wake up and protect yourself, because if you just give yourself to other person without knowing if they are trustworthy or not, if they're capable of safeguarding your heart. A lot of times we get infatuated and then give into the physical and then invest so much energy. The more you invest, the more your nervous system is investing into that relationship. Okay, let me keep getting ready. Sorry, I just be like talking about this stuff makes me so mad, because I've seen so many people just hurt over bad relationships without realizing that it's not going to work. They're not going to change. And you can keep trying. And women do, no matter how much knowledge they get, women don't give up. And you know why we don't give up? Because, okay, when an unhealthy relationship is formed, what happens is that we pick people based on what we've been through in childhood. So the type of, maybe the dad we had. So if he was this grandiose, demanding, whatever he was. So there's a figure there, or a combination of traits from your childhood that kind of left you confused, kind of left you like, oh, what is that? That's the same thing your brain will search for, and it's the concept is called imago. But that's the same thing your brain will search for as you get older. Oh, is it, was it super dark before? It just got bright, huh? So if you grew up with toxic people, your nervous system is wired to that toxicity, and then as you grow up, you're not even intentional about being attracted to these type of people, but as you grow up, you will you will feel that attraction, but you have to have the knowledge and the self control to know I'm not going to choose this person just because they excite me, and that is great, but then are they really good for me in the long term? Am I a good fit with them? Are they going to meet my needs, or are they just an exciting playboy? Are they just an exciting, maybe I'm attracted to them because my dad was like this, or my cousins, or right? So you had exposure somewhere to this type of unavailability. And many times, using women or being unavailable to women is very common because it's in the culture, it's glamorized, right? So when a healthy relationship ends, you feel angry, hopeless, depressed, right? But you don't, um, in a healthy relationship, you grieve the loss and you take the time to grieve what was and could not be. So there's a clear, yeah, that's a big thing too. So when a healthy relationship ends, people grieve, people grieve, and they're sad, they somewhat will fall apart, but then they understand why did this relationship end, because an unhealthy person will leave you with no answers, no closure, no understanding, no clarity. There's no, when an unhealthy relationship ends, it's almost always just a volatile explosion where one person just gets left in the dust and they're crumbling and falling apart, right? But when a healthy relationship ends, there's clarity on, okay, we made this decision, or he made this decision to leave, or it was good, but so there's some type of sense of why things ended. Yeah, the grief is there, the pain is there, you go through the anger and the sadness and negotiation, all the same stages of grief. But in an unhealthy relationship, it's like a drug that's gone, and now unhealthy, if you haven't done the work on yourself, people look for instant replacement, and usually the replacement is very similar to what they had before. Maybe not in how they look, but definitely if you haven't done the work, you will repeat the cycle. That's a guarantee. I've seen it so many times. So if an unhealthy relationship ends and you don't secure your sense of self, and you still want another, the next man person to help you feel better, right? That's when you know you were in an unhealthy relationship, because you lost your sense of self and you made it all about the other person, obsessively worrying about the relationship, doing things for them, right? Just spending all their time with them. That's another thing you must never do. No matter the person is healthy or unhealthy, you cannot spend all your time obsessing over other person, taking care of them, rescuing them, guiding them, like becoming their mother, their girlfriend, their just everything bagel. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Have boundaries where you still, even in a healthy, even in a relationship, prioritize yourself, so that when you look back, you're not like, well, these 10 years I wasted with him, and these 5 years I wasted with him, and I didn't grow. So you must grow through. That should be your priority. The most important relationship is yourself with yourself. So yeah, and then there's a lot of validation seeking, approval seeking, chasing, obsessiveness in unhealthy relationships. There's fear of being abandoned. Oh, and then another one is that people don't realize, but they make their partner their higher power. What does that mean? In an unhealthy relationship, the okay, I should keep getting ready. Sorry, you guys. In an unhealthy relationship, people make their partner God. That what you not real God. They put real God second too. That's why in so many religions it's taught that both people have faith in God together, right? No one is saying that you're my no human should be your God like ever. Oh, this looks so no human should be your God like ever, that even if they are your husband, they're your boyfriend, you love them, do not give yourself up for anybody, right? And God, other than God, right? But God would never ask you to give yourself up. God would only ask you to grow in service of yourself, your relationship. But you have to wake up and say, oh, this relationship is really one-sided. I've done all I can, right? That's the best way to really look at a relationship and say, I've done all I could have. I've given my all. But this person is not able to meet my needs. They're not able to respect me. They're not able to, you know, really show me that they care and they love. And there's no consistency, there's no reciprocation, there's no transparency, right? So these are the few things that are just non-negotiable. If you are in a romantic relationship, it's different if you say there's so many people these days doing the non-ethical non-monogamy, and that's really tough. That's very tough, even though women say, oh yeah, we're all like with we're both with several people. It's very difficult to manage that dynamic. But then people don't invest as much in relationships when there's ethical non-monogamy or non-monogamy period. They stay focused on yourself, on themselves. And that's what you have to do in one-on-one relationships too. Stay focused on yourself, have your goals and your growth, and don't give up, your work, your day, whatever you're doing, your hobbies, your interests. Your focus has to be first your God. Your focus has to be your connection with God, with your God, however you define God. So stay connected to that higher power. Do not make a partner, a man, a woman, any human your higher power. And that's the biggest thing. How do you know if you've made someone your higher power? Is when you think of, oh, I need a decision. I need to make this decision. Let me call my partner, which is good, but you've got to consult with God first. You have to not make another human your higher power, right? If you are preoccupied and obsessed with the details of their life, you're definitely losing yourself. I already told you guys that, right? Yeah, I'm teaching a class on relationships later, so I'm just reviewing my notes and just getting my thoughts and words going. Feel free to ask me any question that you might have. And another thing is, usually what I've noticed is that unhealthy people come together based on their traumatic past. You had a bad family upbringing. I had a bad family upbringing. Nobody did the work to heal themselves, but they're coming together based on instant attraction, or they met in a bar and they had sex. Things like that. So don't expect healthy relationships to be born out of this type of unhealthy meeting. You're both not sober, you're just attracted at a bar or whatever, and then people just take it from there. Yeah, if you So you've got to take, in a healthy relationship, you take your time. Thank you everyone for like listening and chiming in, and yeah, take your time, make friendships, and always conditional. Like make love conditional in the beginning until you get to know them, until you get to know that their love is unconditional too, right? If you go all in and you submit yourself completely, and the it's a burden on the other person too, right? If you go in and you submit yourself completely and they're not ready, right? This fast action relationship usually will lead to either trauma bond or will lead to just a volatile, um, you know, just ups and downs. And so maintain your boundaries, express your needs directly, avoid getting engulfed by the relationship, stay individual and together, right? Let's see what else. Let me know if there's any questions, you guys. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Yeah, and then the litmus test really is, oh, let me tell you this. I'm sure this question is going to come up. How do I know if I'm with a narcissist? Right? How do I know that they are inconsistent because that's who they are, or because work is really hard? Or so you know you're with the narcissist if you say no to them and they just either blow up on you. Yeah, I hope so. I'm so passionate. So Sarah says, bet your talk will be interesting. And I think I'll stay single. No, you don't have to stay single, but you have to create your life first. And then you're together and whole, right? And then you attract whole people. But if you are in that, negotiation mode, that, oh, I don't really care about myself, but I really care to get in a relationship, and if you will take me, I will take care of you, I will take care of the kids, I will do, you could use me as a doormat, you could use me as a punching bag, you could come home and kick the cat, so you've got to become whole and then get into sober dating. Maybe tomorrow I should talk about what is sober dating? What is dating from a place of wholeness? How do you begin doing that? Because if you're just going in willy-nilly and just getting picked up by whoever says, oh, okay, yes, okay, thanks for letting me know, I'll definitely discuss that tomorrow. How do I date with integrity and boundaries so I'm not sober dating? Yeah, definitely. I'll be happy to discuss sober dating with you guys tomorrow. All right, ask me any questions that you might have. Otherwise, I'm going to start my makeup. I think my skincare is nice and absorbed at this point. And be realistic. Like, we get so fairy tale-y. That's like my conclusion, is what I'm going to say today. What is sober saying? Sober dating is when you're not going into dating with fairy tale expectations, when you're not going into dating thinking about, he's gonna be like, first date, my clients will say, oh my god, he's so perfect, looking at their profile on an app or whatever. He's so perfect. This could be my husband. Oh my God, this just gets me. So when these girls will just come up and say, this could be my husband. Girl, get out of your head. Get out of the fairy tale. Quit being desperate. Start to love yourself as who you are. Like, have a full life. No, not every date you go on is going to be your husband. Sober dating is when you go in with realistic expectation, very clear on what you need, want, and desire from a partner. You're not giving up your body. Oh my goodness, like the amount of people who are getting used up on these dating apps makes me so mad. These dating apps are so bad for our culture. And they're hurting women. Their dating apps are like predatory Yeah, yeah. Dating apps are like predatory grounds for these narcissistic people who just use and abuse, and a lot of them are already in relationships. Sarah says, I need to do sober dating then. Yes, all relationships sober with boundaries, with clarity, with this is what I want, need, and expect. This is what I'm willing to do. I'm not going to have sex with you just because you asked or you pushed me or no. So that's another sign. If someone is pushing you to have sex and you do it just to get breadcrumb of love, that's definitely a sign of an unhealthy relationship, because that's how it begins. That's how they kind of reel you in, right? What is a big investment from a woman? Her body. So these men will kind of put this pressure and take the woman's body, even though to them it feels like, oh, it was consensual, and the woman is trying to get love and get a relationship going and understanding and appreciation. She's trying to win over the guy. And what do they end up doing? Having sex super quick. So the girl gets invested with her hormones and her, she's given herself. But the guy, in their mind, they're like, oh, she's easy, I used her, or done, next, right? So you've got to understand, men operate differently than women. We have to stay grounded in our sobriety, emotional sobriety, spiritual sobriety. You've got to have standards, rules, and like bottom lines. Like, if this happens, I'm gonna walk, right. In sober dating, I also teach about bottom lines and how you got to walk away from from people who don't treat you with respect, etc. Yeah, so having standards and all this really comes from self-love, self-worth. It's all roads, I kid you not, all roads come, that this should really be my conclusion, that all roads come to self love. Like, that's your destination. Until you reach that complete, absolute understanding of yourself, acknowledgement of your strengths and weaknesses, you can sit with who you are, really understand who you are, and then your needs, your wants, your desires, and your values. This is my value that whatever, like, I don't have sex until I'm comfortable. Maybe it may take 1 month, it may take 6 months. You've got to stay. And then if that person leaves you because you stated your respectful boundaries, and that's one of the biggest things that women fear, that he's gonna leave, or worse, he's gonna go to someone else if I say no. Good, that is good. You have saved yourself from years of misery if they walked away when you asked for respect, when you asked for. So that's a good way to do this as a litmus test in relationships, that you show up grounded in your values, and if somebody doesn't respect your values or who you are, then, or if you say no, hey, no, I don't drink, and they force you to drink, or they say, oh, come on, whatever, right? So if you have to abandon yourself and go against your values to please him, that's going to be the first, and then there's going to be another time, then that's going to become a pattern in the relationship, right? But if you are somebody who is really stands their ground and says no, and if it's a narcissist, they're going to get mad, they're going to throw a fit, they're going to tell you, oh, you're going to pay for this or whatever, right? Threats, hostility, aggressiveness, lies, manipulation, not able to say no, not able to respect your boundaries, that's going to be an unhealthy, toxic person. So you don't want to be in that. And the way to avoid unsafe relationships is to not start them. Make sure before you give your heart and your body and you get obsessive about them, before that, make sure they're on the same page as you, that they're able to invest what's valuable to them to into you before you invest yourself completely, and then set this pattern of chasing the other person, right? So yeah, so self-love is where it's at. If you're worthy in self-love, if you are standing in self-worth, you will be able to create relationships that are healthy, that uplift you, that are mutual, that are transparent, that there's reciprocity and understanding. And that's a satisfying relationship. Women who cry after decades and decades of pouring into a man, and the man looks at them like, well, you did it. I didn't force you. These men or these partners, I'm not just talking about heterosexual relationships, but in relationships in general, when one person is pouring themselves into the relationship container so that the relationship stays afloat and going, that's the person who has lost sense of themselves and doesn't value themselves. They only value the relationship with that person. And that's how you know it's unhealthy. And that's how you know that this person needs to do the work of really finding their worth and really loving themselves and standing with that self love. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. You're going to continue reading my book now. That's awesome. There's a section in the book on interdependence in relationships that will tell you what you lost was good riddance. Every time you think of a bad relationship that's gone, fantastic TED Talk. Yeah, I'm just priming myself, getting the words and the ideas flowing so that when I'm in front of like hundreds of, I don't know how many people are going to be in the session, but it sounds like it's a lot of people. So when I'm in front of people, I'm not like, oh, well, let me review my notes. Yeah, but a lot of people are hurting because they just give themselves up in relationships, and there are people who will take your whole life, and they will take decades from you. They will take everything from you and just be like, well, you did it. No one forced you to. And now that you don't do it, my needs are not met the way they were before, so bye. And you don't want to be in that position where you've been pouring into the relationship container for so long, waiting for them to show up into this relationship, and then you're resentful because you were used, abused, and you still stayed. Because the guy or the other person's going to turn around and say, well, I didn't force you. You're the one who did so much. They know that they manipulated your love, your goodness, to get whatever supply they could get. They know all that. But legally, right, they didn't force you to give up yourself and take care of them, or do, raise their children, or whatever it is that people do, or give them money, or give them, right, supply of any kind. Let me keep doing my skincare. So yeah, thank you for listening to me chit chat. Are there any questions on healthy or unhealthy relationships? I'm happy to answer. I'm just like priming myself for a relationship talk that I'm giving later to women who've been through domestic violence, etc., and abuse. And so really the most important thing is to understand that self-worth, self-love, and then practicing your boundaries. So many times we're like not conditioned to practice our boundaries, so we're used to just trying to meet our need, but then, oh, he didn't really listen to me. Like, and this happens a lot. A common thing that I've noticed with a lot of my clients is that women want coverage during the act, but the guy will say no. And and even though women know better, they just give in and really, really go along with it, even though it's going to jeopardize their health, their safety, their mental health. and has long-term repercussions, but they let themselves get manipulated and give into having, sex way before they wanted to, and also unprotected. And that really like makes me so mad, because how do you think the guy is gonna respect you if you gave up on something that was non-negotiable, which is your safety, and you gave put your body on the line for a breadcrumb, right? So things like that, people need to be clear on what their values are, where they stand, and then practice speaking and setting boundaries. Really, dating should be practice first, then commitment should come way, 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 way later. You know, Sarah says, I never heard the term boundary until recently. Yeah, that's true. So many of us were not raised with boundaries or learning how to set the boundary or etc. You're not alone in that. But now that we know better, we can do better. Let's talk about healthy relationship. Healthy relationships has love and happiness. They value each other. They appreciate peaceful times. There are peaceful times in a healthy relationship, and so many people don't get that, and they don't even ask for it. They ask for, please let there be no abuse. I hope he's not cheating. That's like their bottom line, right? So don't get addicted to the chaos and drama and chasing him. Men will keep you chasing just to keep you running towards them, so they don't have to do the work, put put in that energy into the relationship, right? I already talked about how there's patterns where partners pick on you, tell you all the negative things about yourself so that they can control you. So if someone is criticizing you and focusing on all the negatives and how you need to change and how you need to improve, that's a sign that they don't really accept you for who you are. They just want you to change, and they're invalidating you, maybe because they're not fully in it with you, right? So if they're focused too much on your negative traits, not in a healthy relationship, the partner will encourage you to grow and change based on things that you want to grow and change. There's no expectation of you becoming a different person in a healthy relationship. Let's listen to some music. Well, okay, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have a really good night or day, wherever you are. Have a really good day or a really good night, and I will catch you guys later, and we can talk about what is sober dating, right? Oh, this is a good one. I take my identity from you. Alrighty. Bye. Oh, I don't want to go. It's 11:11, you guys. Let's stay. Let's talk. It's 11:11, so let's talk about a healthy relationship. So, dear God, we are manifesting healthy relationship full of support, peace, mutual understanding, respect, grace, energetic exchange, value each other, respect each other, be there for each other, be each other's friend and guide and mentor, and do playful things together, create together, right? That's the biggest gift of having a healthy relationship, that you create magic together, which keeps you both healthy, wealthy, wise, willing, and growing. And that's the secret to a long, successful, healthy marriage or relationship, is that two healthy people who are individual themselves, secure in themselves, come together to play together, create together, and be together in mutual love, mutual understanding, mutual respect, and love for the Creator. So that's what we hope, wish, and pray for all of you, and for me, and for everyone around us, that we choose people who choose us. Alrighty. See you tomorrow for Sober Dating Live. What is sober dating and how do you do it? Bye.